Well, today we're keeping you in the know about the federal trial of the developers who handled renovation and operation of the historic Pere Marquette. Now, we've been covering this for weeks now. Gary Matthews and Monty Brennan are accused of using investors' money, including City of Peoria funding and hotel revenues, to enrich themselves and their other business interests from 2008 to 2018. Now, we understand the jury received the case yesterday and presumably could return with a verdict any minute now. But there's a lot for the jury to consider, and this case can be difficult to follow. So we're joined today by Kevin Sullivan, a criminal defense attorney, to break this all down for us. Thank you, Kevin, for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. So this is a big case happening here locally. A lot to break down, so let's kind of get right into it. What do you think are some of the most important aspects of this fraud trial?
Well, I think, it involves the Pere Marquette, which has kind of been the flagship building in Peoria for, for almost 100 years now. It's kind of ground zero. A lot of things revolve around it. I think without Peoria, the entire face of downtown would look a lot different, and there'd be a lot less attraction to come to Peoria. So I think that's important because of the history of the Pere Marquette. I think the fact that there was public money that was used for the renovation is piqued a lot of people's interest, as well as it should. The city of Peoria, there's a lot of investors, there's corporate investors. I believe that, that has drawn a lot of attention. And, ostensibly, most any case I think that occurs in court, especially a criminal case, could be or should be of interest to people because it involves something that happens in your community. Right. Now, realistically, people don't follow things on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis. There are very few cases anymore really are followed by the press. But since this has so much municipal and civic entanglements, I think that's a reason this is given a lot of attention and should be, for that matter.
Absolutely. And testimony has taken about 3 weeks now. Why do you think it's taking so long?
Well, they start off, this is the end of the third week. I think it started October 16th was the first date of trial. And, when the jury arrives and they start court 9 or 9:30 in the morning, they just simply don't sit there and go 8 hours without stopping. It starts out with jury selection, then it starts out with opening statements, then they start with the evidence. And, along the way, there's going to be times when the jury is sent out, lawyers and the judge have to discuss what's coming up or what did occur. They want to make, the judge's goal is to make this a fair trial. So sometimes they have to block certain evidence, sometimes they have to limit what a witness will say. Sometimes, with the number of witnesses that the federal prosecutors presented, that is a daunting task. And I think I heard something to the effect of maybe 70 witnesses. So you're coordinating the trial and their schedules together, and it may be that if, for example, if the government finished with a witness early in the afternoon and they don't have another witness coming in until tomorrow, so they break at 2 o'clock. And they do take a lot of breaks during the day, comfort breaks for the benefit of the jury and, frankly, the attorneys and court personnel. It's needed to stay fresh and not just sit, in a concentration mode, so to speak, during the entirety of the trial or the entirety of the day.
Right. So they have a lot to consider, and they have a lot of people to hear from as well.
That is correct. And now that the jury is deliberating, it's been a day. They don't deliberate all night. They probably deliberated into the evening. They got released. I'm sure they returned this morning at 9 o'clock or thereabouts. But, a case of this size, of this length, this many witnesses, this many counts, it's going to take some time for the jurors to go through all of those jury instructions. I'm sure the jury instructions is probably approximating 100 pages. I wouldn't be surprised.
Wow.
So it's going to take them, I think, a while to get through. People have asked me, well, is that a good thing that the jury hasn't come back yet? Is that a good sign? I don't think it's a sign. I think it's the only sign to me is that the jury is doing their job very seriously, and they're considering reading the instructions and following the instructions to reach what will hopefully be a verdict one way or another.
Right. And speaking of that verdict, we are running out of time here, but if the jury returns a guilty verdict on these charges, do you think that either of these men will see jail time?
If history repeats itself, especially here in the Central District of Illinois, my feeling is that they will receive some type of incarceration. I know that their ages would work against that, and perhaps Mr. Matthews, what at least appears to be some type of either a disability or difficulty ambulating. The Federal Bureau of Prisons does handle that, and age is not a prohibition about being sentenced. But my guess is that the charges are serious. The charges do carry, upon conviction, the statutes provide for a certain amount of, up to a certain amount of punishment, and then they have the federal guidelines, which kind of drill down and will come up with more specific numbers. My prediction is yes, you will see some type of incarceration should they be found guilty, and depending upon what they're found guilty of.
Right, right. A whole lot to break down there. So thank you, Kevin, for coming in and kind of putting it on the table there for us.
You got it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And of course, as we just mentioned, the jury is out, so we will of course keep you updated as soon as we find out what the verdict is. You can stay up to date on our website, 25newsnow.com. We'll be right back.